People who make progress actually believe that they deserve to heal. This one gets me every time because I can't tell you how many people I've worked with who have done everything the practices, the programs, the therapy, the somatic work, and still weren't getting better. And when we dug into it, what we found was a quiet, deep seated belief that healing wasn't actually for them, that they didn't deserve to heal. They weren't worthy of a healthy, loving, happy life. Now, they're not consciously thinking that. Maybe some people are. They're not going around saying that to themselves all the time, but there is an unconscious belief there. And that comes from years, probably very young, that maybe you were exaggerating, or you learned to minimize your own suffering, or to not take up too much space, or you learned not to ask for too much. You learn that it's too much to want something that you don't need. Hey there, and welcome to Heal with Grace. I'm your host, Grace Decker, and I'm a holistic licensed therapist and nervous system coach who believes that the chronic and often unseen symptoms you're living with are a sign of something deeper going on, a sign that your nervous system needs attention. In each episode, I'll share the science behind the most common chronic health disorders, plus holistic health tips using mental, physical, and spiritual practices. You'll hear what I've learned in my journey and the true stories from our trusted guests, so you can feel less alone in your experience and give yourself grace no matter what you're going through. So without further ado, settle in and get cozy. It's time to heal with Grace. Hey, y'all, and welcome back to the Heal with Grace podcast. I am Grace, your host, and if you're new here, I'm really glad that you found this. This is the place where we talk about chronic pain, chronic symptoms, and nervous system healing. The real stuff, not just the reduce your stress or shake it out, which is part of it for sure. But we talk about the actual lived it myself, science backed. This is really what changes things, nervous system regulation. Specifically with chronic pain and illness, we talk a lot about what to do for nervous system healing, the practices, the techniques, the modalities. But today, I want to talk to you about how people do this work, the habits and the mindset patterns, and the ways of approaching this that I consistently see in people who actually get better versus people who stay stuck. Because what I know after working in this space for many years now is that the practices matter. Who you show up as, who you are when you're doing these practices, this work in general really matters. How you're approaching it is honestly sometimes more important than anything. So, today we're going into the 7 habits that I see for successful nervous system regulation. And it's not a protocol necessarily, it's not like a checklist of what you need to do. It's 7 ways of being that, when they become how you operate, changes everything. So, before we get in, though, I want to acknowledge something that if you're listening to this and you've been struggling for a long time, if you felt like you've been doing all these things. You've tried the 7 things to regulate your nervous system and you've done some mind body work, but you're still not getting better. Or maybe you're just kind of like tipping your toes and you recognize nervous system has something to do with your body or your illness or your health or the fact that you can't stop crying or emotionally regulate. And if some days healing feels genuinely impossible, this really is for you. And I want you to go easy on yourself as you listen, because this isn't about what you should have been doing all along or what you're doing wrong. It's about what's available to you now. Please don't take this as you're doing something wrong if you're not doing these things. Or if you're recognizing that you're doing the opposite of these things, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm making it harder on myself. I'm self sabotaging. No, that's not what this is about. This is to help you. So I invite you to listen with a curious lens, take it in, and start to see what could help you. That's all this is about. Okay, so we're going to set up a little bit first in terms of what I talk about in terms of nervous system regulation. So I'm talking about the capacity of your nervous system to move through different states: activation, rest, mobilization, and connection, and to come back to a place of relative ease, not permanent calm, not zen out, I'm great all the time. Not the absence of sensation, meaning not the absence of pain or health issues. We can decrease those, and very much so recover. But it's not that you never experience something difficult in your life or again, or you're after you do this, you're great, you're healed, you're perfect. No, it's the ability to not get stuck in those difficult times in your body. And for most people dealing with chronic symptoms, whether that is pain, fatigue, IBS, migraines, POTS, long COVID, brain fog, anxiety, the list goes on that won't quit, the nervous system has gotten very good at staying in survival mode, high alert, scanning, bracing, protecting. And the thing about the state is, it makes sense. Your nervous system learned to do this. It had good reason. It was trying to keep you safe, but it's working with outdated information. And our job in this healing and recovery space is to give it new information, new evidence, and a different experience of what's possible. So that's the expansion. When we can expand your nervous system's capacity to be with some of these sensations and really retrain the brain to recognize you don't need these symptoms anymore, that's nervous system regulation. You're not trying to get to a perfect regulated state, it's an ebb and flow. But right now, if you're listening to this, you might be stuck more often in the stress response than you are in the flow of it. Okay. And so, what I'm talking about today is that these habits are how you do the work, not just the actual practices, but it's through how you show up to the whole process. And if you've been listening to this podcast, if you've been watching the YouTube videos here and you're like, yeah, okay, this is resonating, this is helping. I'm still a little confused, or I would like some more structure. I'd really like to have a community just to, someone to walk me through this. I invite you to find the link below to the Mind Body Healing Method. It is my signature nervous system regulation, brain training, somatically focused program to help you get unstuck and understand the deeper layers. We talk about everything that I talk about in the podcast, but we go way deeper to really help you understand how to get out of the stuck patterns that your body and your mind are in. Right now, it is a self-paced program, and you can go through it on your own time at your own pace. If you want to go deeper and you want more individual support, you can book private sessions, private coaching sessions with our mind body healing specialist, EMDR therapist, and coach, Liana. She is amazing. I'm really excited to have her back with me in doing this work. She knows the mind body healing method in and out, and she has the therapist and coach lens to help guide you through it. So find the link below. If you have any questions, just let me know and I will speak with you. Okay, let's go ahead and get in. So, habit one, start right now without waiting until you feel ready. This sounds really simple that honestly could almost be annoying, like eye roll, right? Yeah, I know, I get it. I need to do it. I need to do it. I need to do it. But it really is one of the most significant patterns I see separate people who heal from people who stay stuck. So, people who do well with nervous system work don't wait until they understand everything perfectly. They don't wait until they get all those other test results in before they start using mind body work to help themselves. They don't wait until they've found the quote unquote right approach. They don't wait until they have a guarantee that it's going to work. They start messy, imperfect, uncertain. They start anyway, because no matter what is going on in your body, whether you actually have a structural issue or not, nervous system affects everything. I was just talking to a client about this the other day who has endometriosis, PCOS, and EDS, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. Those are real structural findings in the body. I am not telling her that, oh, all those symptoms are just made up and you can heal those and recover from them. You don't have to have them anymore. I'm not saying that. And also, we very much so know, because we've been working together for a while, she knows that her stuck nervous system response, her high anxiety, definitely impacts how her body experiences these things. So when she's ovulating and when she's around her cycle, when she's around her bleed, she knows that her symptoms increase. But as we've been working with the nervous system, the symptoms decrease. It doesn't mean that her body has completely healed that structural cause, but our nervous system and brain can send high alert to symptoms or to structural findings in the body and make it worse. And then there are also things that very much so don't have structural findings. Maybe you've done all the tests and they don't really show much. Definitely nervous system. And we can get you out of that pattern of your body going on high alert and sending you symptoms even when there's nothing wrong. And so when when someone doesn't wait to get started, they understand this concept. They know that no matter what is going on, working with their nervous system and their emotions and their brain is always going to help you. I was just talking to my partner about this. I was like, man, I'm starting to teach therapists this work, but like if we could get just the basics understanding of our mental and emotional health that is around our nervous system into schools, right? Like elementary, middle school, high school, however it is, like developmentally appropriate for each level. Man, we'd be a different society. And that is another tangent that was not meant for this episode. But I guess what I'm saying is no matter what's going on in your body, this work is going to help you. It will never hurt you. It will always help you. Okay, let's get back to number one. I get that why starting feels hard, right? You've been sick for a long time, you've been in pain, you've tried things that haven't worked, and when you've had hope and had it taken away, meaning the prospect of starting something, you bought into a specific protocol, a certain specialist, and you feel like you put everything on the line and it didn't work. That sucks. And you've probably done it time and time again. So you're like, why would I invest in myself and this and come out the other side exactly where I started? I hear that. I've totally lived it. But here's also what I know. Like I just said, your nervous system cannot learn anything from information that's sitting on your shelf. And also, it will always help you and it will never hurt you. So don't look for a perfect start. Don't look for all or nothing. Don't look for, well, I need to clear my schedule to start. No. Yes, it takes some time and effort and energy, but you can do it. And to be honest, like your body needs you to. Your livelihood, your mental, emotional, physical health really needs you to. So start before you're ready because ready is feeling the nervous system in threat mode will never actually give you. Say the last sentence again. Because ready is a feeling the nervous system in threat mode will never actually give you. Number two, stop identifying with being sick. So, people that are successful in this work and they find relief, and they're the ones that have been on my podcast and they're like, oh my gosh, wow, this work is working, right? They have recognized that they probably took on the identity of being someone who is sick or in pain, and it's become a big part of their life. And that's not something you're doing on purpose consciously, but it does happen. Stay with me here because I'm not saying you're doing something wrong, but I am not saying your symptoms aren't real. They are completely, entirely, undeniably real. And I'm not saying you're making them up. I am not saying you don't have a legitimate condition, but I am saying is that there's a difference between having symptoms and making symptoms the core of who you are. When you've been sick for a long time, and especially when you've been through a medical system that hasn't helped you, that's gaslit you, that's dismissed you. It is completely understandable to build your identity around being sick. You start organizing your life around your symptoms. You start defining yourself by your limitations, and the illness, the pain becomes the lens through which you see everything. The problem with that from a nervous system perspective is that the brain is always listening and is always looking for confirmation of its current model of reality. So when the model is, I'm sick, I am someone who doesn't get better, I always have something wrong, my body's always broken, my body's always the problem, the nervous system stays on high alert and your body encodes that. It takes that on and says, yeah, that's me. That's us. All right, well, here's this pain. Here's this illness. You're going to get sick if you go on a plane. You're going to X, Y, and Z. The story is a threat story. And the brain responds to threat stories by generating more protective symptoms. And I'm not saying that this means toxic positivity. It doesn't mean pretending you're fine when you're not. It doesn't mean lying to yourself about how hard this is. It means starting to practice a different story alongside the one you're telling. For example, I am someone who is healing instead of I'm always sick and I'm working on it. You go to I am someone whose nervous system is learning to feel safe. I am a person who sometimes has symptoms, but I am not my symptoms, right? We're not trying to force your way into like, I'm fine, I'm good, everything's perfect. It's a real grounded way of shifting your attachment to your symptoms, to your health. You are not your diagnosis or diagnoses. You are a nervous system that's been through a lot and is learning to feel safe. That's a completely different story and it opens completely different doors. Number three, people who make progress actually believe that they deserve to heal. This one gets me every time because I can't tell you how many people I've worked with who have done everything, the practices, the programs, the therapy, the somatic work, and still weren't getting better. And when we dug into it, what we found was a quiet, deep seated belief that healing wasn't actually for them, that they didn't deserve to heal. They weren't worthy of a healthy, loving, happy life. Now, they're not consciously thinking that. Maybe some people are. They're not going around saying that to themselves all the time, but there is an unconscious belief there. And that comes from years, probably very young, that maybe you were exaggerating or you learned to minimize your own suffering or to not take up too much space or you learn not to ask for too much. You learn that it's too much to want something that you don't need. Maybe you've been in caretaker mode your whole life and putting yourself first feels selfish or wrong. Maybe you've internalized some story from your family, from religion, from culture that suffering is your purpose in a way. Suffering is part of life, which pain is a part of life. Suffering doesn't necessarily have to be. Maybe you've thought that you just have to endure. This is just you. Or maybe after years of not getting better, you started to wonder, what if I'm the kind of person who just doesn't heal? I want to sit with you in that for a second because the belief that you don't deserve healing or that healing, recovery, health isn't for you is one of the most painful things you can tell yourself that I really encounter in this work. And it's also one of the most treatable because your nervous system will not heal beyond what you believe is available to you. The work has to be coupled with genuine permission, permission to get better, permission to have your life back, and permission to want things for yourself and go after them. And the permission has to come from you. And sometimes it's the hardest part of the process. I think it's taken me many years to get to that place. Yes, I've consciously wanted it. Like if someone told me this, I would have been like, that's bullshit. I want to be healthy. I want to be happy. I'm like, yeah, totally. But there were really unconscious mechanisms living in the background because there were secondary gains from me being sick. I gained connection, attention. I got out of things when I was sick and didn't feel good. I wasn't able to put myself out there in the ways that maybe I wanted to grow in my personal and professional life so that I didn't fail, right? Like if you don't put yourself out there, you can't fail. So symptoms protect you from that. So, if you're someone who actually really and this is something that takes time, right? But like if you can really believe that you deserve to heal, you are worthy of being happy and healthy. That goes such a long way that then encodes in your nervous system that it can release some of the patterns protecting you. Okay, number 4. The people who make more progress actively intentionally build safety in their lives to the best of their ability. Nothing's perfect. But here's the central mechanism of all nervous system healing is your brain needs evidence that you're safe, and it gets that evidence through experience, not through being told. There is a balance of that, right? So, for example, one of the most important things you can do is actively create conditions in your life to whatever degree you're able to that generate real signals of safety to your nervous system. So, it looks different for everyone, but here are a few things I see that matter the most. The people and environments you're around. Are there people in your life who feel regulating, who help your nervous system settle? Are there people who constantly activate you, who keep you in a state of high alert, who make you feel small or unseen, or you're constantly comparing yourself to and feeling like crap about? I know you can't always change who's around you, but becoming aware of your relational environment is one of the biggest steps because how we relate to other people and how we relate to ourselves are some of the biggest parts of understanding and regulating our nervous system. So the next example would be your basic physiology, right? Sleep, food, time outside. These are not just nice to haves, they are the literal substrate of nervous system function. So I know when you're deep in chronic symptoms, even basic self care can feel impossible. But this is not about some 10-step wellness routine that you're trying to put on. Supporting yourself from a place of love and intention and purpose because you want to do that for your body, for you. So, yeah, sleep, nourishment, sun, outside, nature, space, time to breathe and sit with yourself for 5 minutes in the morning and the evening Whatever degree you can support your body's basic needs, it truly, truly matters because then you're sending the signal to yourself that you deserve this, that you're worthy of giving yourself these foundational practices. You can bring yourself into safety by orienting to anything, right? Looking around the room and letting your eyes and nervous system register, I'm here. This is my environment. I am not in danger right now. And that might sound a little silly, but your nervous system is not logical. Remember, your nervous system is acting like a little child, and we need to treat it like one. So, orienting yourself to the present moment, reminding your brain and your nervous system, I'm safe right now. I'm not in danger by slow, extended exhales, gentle movement, time in nature. They are literally how you teach your nervous system that right now, in this moment, you are okay. And that builds up over time. You do this to the best of your ability. You give your actual circumstances a chance, not the ideal circumstances you wish you had, the ones you have right now. And this isn't, again, creating a perfect healing environment. This is about consistent daily practice. Number 5, how you show up and approach your healing matters. So, using the same mechanisms that kind of got you stressed in the first place to your healing is something everyone usually ends up having to learn. So, for example, are you approaching it from an all or nothing standpoint? Oh my gosh, I dropped off one day, or I didn't do what I was told I was supposed to do, or what I've learned feels good. Oh my gosh, all is lost. I'm a failure. I'm not going to get better. Right. Or are you kind of dipping your toes into the mind body work, nervous system regulation? Maybe you're working with a therapist and you're kind of like, okay, I'll give this a try. And then you run the other way and go find another specialist to get another test because you're afraid that they missed something in your body, like a tumor or a cyst or inflammation or something. And then you feel like a failure because you didn't do nervous system healing correctly. The way that you can approach your body and your healing from a place of flexibility and a place of, I am learning, right? This curious lens of, okay, what would it look like to lean into this a little bit more, learn more about myself, approach my life in a different way than I've been approaching it so far. That's what's going to help you in the long run and really in the day to day is when you're healing from a state of curiosity and flexibility and consistency. Consistency doesn't mean all or nothing, but it does mean that you are continuing to do the work. Yes, you can recover. Yes, you can get out of the stuck place that you're in. Does that mean you never do self-development work again or you never have any other symptoms? My stance is I don't think so. No, that's not my lived experience. It's not a lot of my clients' lived experiences. This work will catapult your life. This work will make you see things so differently. I was a therapist for 5, 6 years before doing this professionally and really honing it in myself personally. And I learned so much more doing this than I ever did in school or those first 5 years of therapy. It's just takes you to so many different levels. And so my point being is like, this is a new way of life. It's a new way of seeing things. It's not like, okay, do nervous system work for 3 months. I'm good. Don't have to look at it again. No, it's an evolution. So take it on that way. Take it on as like, oh, I'm learning these new things about me, these new ways of taking care of myself. So it can be a lifestyle shift, if you will. I kind of hesitate on that word, but it kind of is. Like it's a different way of looking at yourself and your health. So please take it with flexibility. Take it with a sense of curiosity. Number 6, integrate and apply consistently. Number 5 was talking about how to approach it, right? With flexibility and curiosity. And I mentioned some consistency there. But when I see people get stuck is when they are not fully understanding this or continuing to learn about it in a different way. So your nervous system learns through experience, not just understanding, not through just knowing, not through having the information. That is a big part of it. I will say, like educating yourself on this and what's happening is a very big part of this process, but it's not the only piece. I talk to people time and time again who's like, I've read the books, I've listened to the podcasts, I get it, but nothing's changing. And that's because they're not actually embodying and learning experientially how to expand and shift their nervous system. They're not doing it through living repeatedly in a way that teaches your brain new things are possible. So here's the pattern I see constantly. People take in information about nervous system healing. They read the books, they listen to the podcasts, they buy the courses, and they're gathering and gathering and gathering, but they're not actually practicing. They're not integrating, they're not applying. And then they wonder why they're not getting better. And this is not a character flaw. I want to be really clear about that. Your nervous system, your brain actually will stop you from going into the experience of changing because it doesn't want to change. So there's a real protective mechanism here that we have to work with. There's real understandable reasons, right? There's the perfectionism, the sense that you need to understand it completely before you try, or you might get it wrong, or that search for the magic bullet. And honestly, research can be a coping mechanism. So when everything feels out of control, gathering information feels like doing something, right? It gives you a sense of agency when you feel powerless. And that's great. That's not a bad thing. We just also need the experiential part of learning. The shift matters. It's from consumption to practice. It means picking one thing and actually doing it every day, consistently, not perfectly. So maybe that's 5 minutes of paying attention to your nervous system and somatically being aware by tuning to your body from a sense of curiosity, neutrality, instead of hypervigilance. What's wrong? What's happening? What am I experiencing? What's going on? Maybe that means learning how to express your emotions. It's just starting by paying attention to the emotions wheel, looking at an emotions wheel and feeling like, what am I feeling? How do I start to name my emotions? And then learning how to express it. You do it consistently, not when you feel like it, not when you feel motivated by it, not when the conditions are right, but as a commitment to your own healing because you've decided to show up for yourself matters more than getting it right. Last but not least, number 7 is don't let little setbacks set you back. This is a big one. When I see people be resilient in their healing, it matters so much because what's happened in your nervous system is that it has created this state of no. I can't. I don't want to do that. I don't know how. It's too much. So, whenever there's a sense of failure, whenever there's a symptom, whenever there's an overwhelmed feeling, your nervous system might collapse or say nope and send you symptoms. That's an automatic pattern that you've been in. So when you start to heal, it isn't going to be linear. You're going to go up and down. You're not going to have some straightforward line of, one day I started not having symptoms and it just went from there. You're going to have setbacks. But to be honest, okay, I don't even want to say the word setback. I don't like that term. I just say that it's part of healing, right? So you experience symptoms, you make progress. It's that forward movement, that settling. So when you feel like there's this place of, why am I not getting better? Or why am I in this flare right now? What you don't want to do is collapse into that and catastrophize about what's happening and what's going wrong. Instead, you want to recognize that this is totally normal. This is a very normal part of the process. You orient yourself to that, and then you be with what's happening in your nervous system. You tell those parts of you that are really activated, that are afraid, hey, yeah, it makes so much sense that you're afraid, and I've got you. Yeah, we're doing this. We are making progress, even if it's really hard today. Because nervous system work is not linear. When you do that, you teach your nervous system, it's okay, we got this. Like, okay, maybe we got a little overwhelmed, but hey, we're here, we're safe. I've never seen healing work be linear, meaning someone does it, they recover, never have symptoms again. I have not seen that. Some symptoms, yes, but in overall, not necessarily. There will be good weeks and hard weeks. There will be days where you feel genuinely better and days where you feel exactly like you did at the beginning. There will be flares. There will be moments where you're convinced nothing is working. That is not failure. That is the process. It really means being really intentional about how you talk to yourself when things get hard because your nervous system is listening, right? So you say, this has been a hard week. Hard weeks are part of this. I'm not where I was 6 months ago. I'm still in it. I'm still showing up. The nonlinear path is the path. There isn't another one. So the habit is learning to stay in the process, even when the process is uncomfortable. Okay. So remember that none of these 7 habits have to be complicated. All of them are a learning process and they're available to you right now, exactly as you are. So Here's what I want you to take from today. Healing isn't just about finding the right technique. Recovery is not just about the tools or the education you learn. It's about who you are in relationship to the process. It's about whether you believe you're someone who gets to heal. It's about showing up consistently, even when it's not working. It's about building a life, not just a practice, that gives your nervous system evidence. You already know more than you think. You don't need more pieces of information if you've been on this journey. Be consistent for yourself. And again, if you're ready to put all of this into a structured program, if you want the actual step by step practice for somatic awareness, brain training, and emotional regulation built around these exact principles, the mind body healing method is exactly what it's been designed for. So you can find the links below for the self study program or to book and one to one calls with myself or Liana. Thank you so much for being here today. I mean that every single time. Choosing to invest your time in your own healing, especially on the days when it feels like a lot to ask, is not nothing. It really, really matters. So keep healing with grace, y'all, and I'll see you in the next episode.